Isn't it incredibly complex being a human? We dance often in this great paradox of yearning for change, yet fearing it at the same time. So beneath these fears and neuroses we have as humans, beneath the stories and the self-sabotaging patterns we develop and accumulate for many reasons, there is a shining light, our humanity. And humanity to me means these three things: honesty, heart, and right relationship. So right relationship with self, right relationship with other, and right relationship with our living planet, our wider world. It is not whimsical or fanciful, it is bone-crushingly honest, clear, and courageous. And one of the most profound tools I've had in my life to awaken my inner physician and help me connect with that light of humanity is yoga. Now, yoga ultimately means integration. It is the integration and return to our innate wholeness, that the realization that all we need is already inside of us. The integration of those self-sabotaging patterns and limiting beliefs. The integration of our shadow side, that darkness that we all have. So I guess that can sound a little abstract at first, so let's use the analogy of the digestive system. We accept that we eat food on a regular basis to survive. We chew the food, we assimilate the nutrients, and then we excrete and expel that which is no longer needed. It is absolutely key that we have some sort of coherent system to do the same for our life experiences, because otherwise we go mad. To digest, assimilate, and let go of those traumas, the sufferings, the wounds. Otherwise they can hold us back. And through yoga, we breathe, we move, we feel, we deeply inquire within. We lubricate and strengthen this physical body, and we dive into the terrain of our own minds to understand them. Yoga's been a part of my life since the beginning. My mum did her teacher training in South Africa in the 70s. It wasn't really until my late 20s, though, when I really connected with its wisdom and solace. And it was at a time that I was working in credit risk in the crazy world of banking. And twice weekly yoga classes at the work gym were an antidote to all of that chaos, stress, deadlines, politics, ego. And it was a reminder that, I have a body. I have a body to take care of. And I don't need to be at the mercy of my mind all the time. So I like to say my kidneys are amongst my wisest teachers. Teachers come in many forms, don't they? I caught a strep throat, a bacterial infection, at the tender age of 4 that unusually localized down to my kidneys, and it triggered a rare form of nephritis, kidney inflammation. And the prognosis was, in 10 years' time, or thereabouts, my kidneys would be so scarred up that that whole organ system would be shut down. I would be in kidney failure. Now, thankfully, as a child, I was blissfully unaware of that prognosis, and I grew up in the bounty and abundance of Zambia in southern Africa, really a very well and healthy child in spite of that condition. And I also had the great gift of what I now realize was a truly holistically minded doctor, Professor Thompson, who I would go to every few months with my mum in Johannesburg. And he was just a very kind man, and he treated me with great humanity, and he educated me on how to take care of myself. Any good doctor will educate their patient. Things like explaining to me the importance to drink good water and to eat food from the land, eat food that was alive and full of energy, to avoid processed junk food and limit refined sugars. And actually all of that felt very natural to me, and indeed planted very strong seeds in who I was to become. So life goes on, and there I am. We're back in the UK as a family. 14 years old, in the doctor's office, my mum and the nurse in tears, and me, the very unimpressed, stone-faced teenager, receiving the news from the doctor that I was now going into kidney failure, and how I would have to be hospitalized, how far I would have to travel for these dialysis treatments, how regular they would need to be, how much time it was going to take, and how do I integrate that? Our capacity to adapt as humans is extraordinary, and I did adapt. Was it easy all the time? No. Did I fall into crushing, dark, and deep depressions? Yes, I did. But even in those darkest times, something would return me to hope. And hope is very compelling. The more I return to hope, the more I return to hope. There's the neuroplasticity. And to a sense, to a tenacity that led to a belief, I do not need to live a limited life. I can choose something else. I can choose to be well. Even though I saw a lot of very sick people around me in dialysis wards, which was a very adult setting for a teenager to be in, I remain curious for possibility. So life continues on for the next 7 years, lived against a backdrop of these regular dialysis treatments. And then, age 21, I get a phone call from the hospital. Ciara, we've got a kidney for you. And off I go for that surgery. It's the turning of the wheel into another new chapter, an exciting new chapter, not without challenge, but an exciting new chapter nonetheless. And I go on to have nearly 2 decades of function with that kidney. So it was a very, very good innings and a great gift. Sure enough, another roller coaster comes along, and in 2016, I nearly die. The kidney had already been struggling. I caught the flu, and it was a close call. It was nearly the end. But I didn't feel any fear during that time. I just trusted. I had this innate trust, and I think I attribute that to having done so much yoga and inner exploration, to explore my inner world and to be okay with what is. And it's always a constant journey. But even though I was on my knees, I recovered incredibly swiftly and made the decision to opt for home dialysis this time. So part of my current self-care is 8 hours of dialysis every night that I do at home. So I'm sure you can appreciate these experiences left me with a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of anger especially at the Western medical system that I found at times, to be dehumanizing and very linear and rigid in its approach. But equally, I recognized that I needed to own that. I needed to take responsibility for those emotions so that they didn't hold me back. To alchemize that frustration and anger into action and into inner peace. And I did that through yoga, through breath, through movement, through feeling, through deep self-inquiry. Is it plain sailing? No. Remember, it's complex being a human. It's actually a daily commitment to come back to ourselves, to awaken that inner physician, to be in the discomfort, or to be in the stillness, to accept what is. And from that complexity, hope springs. Assistant professor of medicine at Harvard, Satbir Singh Khalsa, spoke to us earlier this year at the Yoga in Healthcare conference, attended by medics and yoga teachers alike over a 3-day period. And we heard such compelling research. Satbir spoke of things such as how long-term meditators, and meditation's a huge part of yoga, have increased cerebral blood flow, resulting in an improved self-regulation and autonomic function. In other words, more chilled out and healthy. And we need more of that, don't we, in this distraction-obsessed society. And yoga works because it's transforming at the level of mind and body and helping you remember the power of your own human spirit. And another movement I get really excited about is social prescribing. So this is actually an NHS initiative. It's part of the NHS long-term plan, so it has a budget. And we can think of it, the way I like to think of it, is true social change through community engagement. So it empowers GPs, who are stressed out of their minds, to signpost their patients, as the humans they are, to meaningful and helpful activities in their communities. Let me give you an example. So I teach 2 yoga classes in South London a week. And my rate is funded by the Parchmore Medical Centre, the local GP practice, and free for the community to attend. And that's a really important point, because in our humanity and in our honesty, we cannot turn a blind eye to the social injustices of the yoga industry. Yoga needs to be accessible and available, especially to those on the fringes. And indeed, it needs to be more understood by people in leadership roles. So, can we remain hopeful? Yes, I really believe we can. Hope allows us to meet eye to eye and heart to heart in all our connections. I initially connected with her through Twitter, but I met a very open-minded pediatrician a few months back. And we met in physical time and space. We shared eye to eye and heart to heart through true conversation. And from that connection, she linked me in with the London School of Pediatrics, which saw me deliver a nutrition talk and 2 yoga sessions to a wonderful group of pediatric trainees, and medicine need these tools. And after one of the yoga sessions, a young trainee came up to thank me afterwards, and I could see she was full of emotion. And sure enough, as she began to speak, the tears did spill, and I gave her a hug. And she just said, "It's so easy to forget yourself." And isn't it true? We forget ourselves all the time. We forget we have this wonderful body and mind to take care of. So let us remind each other often of our humanity and the possibilities that dwell in each and every one of us. And the reminder, indeed, that science and spirituality have so much to learn from one another. They're not operating opposing spectrums. And indeed, the discovery that at the other side of our sometimes searing pain and distress, there is great beauty, wisdom, and understanding. Yoga enhances our humanity through the remembering of who we really are. We breathe, we move, we feel, we deeply inquire within. I invite you to join me in placing a hand on your wise heart to just, even if it's a fleeting moment, that you connect with your own innate power, your inner physician, and that you just drop into a place of your body. No matter if the mind's going crazy, no matter if there's confusion, maybe you've got some big situation going on in your life at the moment. Trust that you'll find a way. Trust the solutions are inside of you. This is yoga. This is our humanity. This is awakening the inner physician. This is unfolding good together. Thank you.